In the 22nd century, the medical rescue ship Nightingale is doing its usual patrol in space. Benjamin is trying to nap, but the ship's AI called Sweetie wakes him up to play chess. In another room, Yerzy and Danica are doing the dirty. Captain Marley is recording a deep analysis of Tom and Jerry while Evers does a checkup on Nick, who used to be an addict. A robot tries to help while they work and Nick comments on its outdated technology, so Evers explains that Marley likes old things. Evers advises Nick to try to socialize, so he plays a few card games with Benjamin. Later he tells Evers about this progress, and seeing her attitude, he wonders why she dislikes him so much. Evers explains that she hates addicts because they destroy everything they touch. Sweetie activates the alarm as they receive a distress signal. Everyone runs to their stations and check on the signal, which has degraded after taking 5 days to reach them. It's a direct call instead of something sent by dispatch, which they aren't supposed to get. It comes from Titan 37, an ice mining operation past the colony outpost. Sweetie informs them that it's a rogue moon that got expelled from orbit, which means there's a lot of gravitational instability in that area. The mining crew was evacuated 5 years ago, which makes the situation even weirder. When they scan for identification, Sweetie discovers that the signature is Carl Larson, the name of Evers' abusive ex. Since this moon is located more than 3,000 light-years away, they'll have to dimension jump to reach it. After setting up the course, the crew undresses and rushes to get in the stabilization chambers. Without explaining why, Marley tells Evers to use his chamber while he uses a different one. Once everyone is safe, the ship makes the jump using plasma acceleration. A bright beam of light pushes the ship through space, and in just a matter of seconds, they arrive at Titan 37. Suddenly they hear the alarm again and are horrified to discover Marley's chamber has malfunctioned, which has caused his skin to fuse with the polyglass, and now he looks like a monster. He's still alive and Evers wants to give him medical attention, but at that moment the ship is hit by the moon's debris cloud. Sweetie announces their fuel reservoir has been breached and that the ship is now entering a high-gravity field. Regardless of all the shaking, Evers, Yerzy, and Danica work on trying to rescue Marley while Nick and Benjamin run to the control room. They discover the engine is damaged too and that they're losing fuel very quickly, not to mention that Titan orbits a blue giant. This means its very strong gravity will make the ship crash soon. The Nightingale is already falling and Sweetie says that the thrusters aren't strong enough to escape, so Nick overrides the computer to go manual. While Nick takes control of the ship to buy some time, the others fail to open the chamber and Marley begs them to end it. Danica is against it, but Evers ignores her and kills Marley to end his suffering. At the same time Nick manages to use the thrusters and lots of fuel to move the ship away and stop it from falling. Afterward Nick brings Sweetie back and she informs him they've lost 82% of the fuel. The ship will still crash in 17 hours, and the jump drive needs almost exactly that time to recharge. When the time comes they'll have an 11-minute window to get out of there. Next Sweetie starts searching for Carl on Titan while Nick brings some alcohol to Evers so they can drink in Marley's memory. They end up getting naughty together. Meanwhile Yerzy surprises with an application to get permission to have a child, which is very hard to get. Danica expressed her wish to have children in the past, but now she isn't so sure. Moments later Benjamin calls Nick and Evers over to show them that the vents weren't modulating and that's what killed Marley. Evers realizes Marley must have seen the warning on the screen and that's why he made her change chambers. Suddenly Sweetie discovers a small transport ship leaving Titan and tries to communicate with the pilot, but there's no response. The ship is approaching the Nightingale very quickly, so the crew rushes to suit up for the incoming impact. The Nightingale shakes when the small ship docks and a door opens, revealing a collapsing pilot and a fire. Yerzy rushes to put the flames off with an extinguisher while Evers checks on the man, taking off the helmet and noticing this isn't Carl. They take the guy to the infirmary and run a scan, which reveals a strange growth on his bone structure. It's as if his bones are strengthening themselves, but otherwise he's perfectly healthy. Afterward Evers informs Nick that this isn't the real Carl Larson but there's a strong resemblance, so she guesses it may be his son. Meanwhile Danica leaves the infirmary to get some supplies and when she comes back, the man is wandering around naked. He introduces himself as Troy and immediately starts flirting with Danica, who doesn't know how to react. The team discusses how to proceed because now there are 6 people but only 5 chambers. Nick says he'll stay behind and the others can send a rescue craft after they jump. Then Evers checks on Troy, who explains he had been alone on Titan and that Carl Larson was his dad. Carl died 3 years ago and Troy also thinks he was a trashy person. Troy called the Nightingale directly because Carl had taught him that if he was ever in trouble, Evers was the person to trust for help. Apparently Carl also told him he was sorry he couldn't be a better partner for her. After Evers gives Troy a vitamin shot, Nick interrogates him. Troy explains he came to Titan to scavenge with some friends, who gave up when they found nothing and left without him. He also reveals that Titan is full of fuel, so Nick announces they'll send the shuttle to get some. However Nick is still suspicious of Troy and secretly asks Yerzy to search Troy's ship for anything suspicious. Before he enters the small ship, Yerzy notices that Troy keeps flirting with Danica, which sours his mood. Inside Troy's vessel, Yerzy uses a scanner to investigate and finds something strange inside a box. He opens it and is surprised to see a bright purple object. After calling Nick, Yerzy touches the thing and is amazed how it makes him feel, to the point he puts his hand inside it. He takes it out before Nick arrives and swears he didn't touch anything. Afterward they take the object into the Nightingale and Sweetie classifies it as possible biohazard. Evers uses a special machine to control the robot, who puts the object in quarantine. Troy admits he kept it hidden because he didn't want to share his treasure, but he does tell his story. 3 years ago he intercepted a stray transmission from miners saying that they found something strange frozen in the ice. He immediately gathered some friends and came to Titan, only to find all the miners gone. His friends thought he had lied and left, but Troy stayed and searched the mines until he found the mysterious object. He's sure it's from an alien origin and now he wants to sell it to the government, so he offers the crew 5% each if they help him transport it. An argument ensues because Troy and Yerzy want to keep the object, but the others don't trust it. Evers comments on Troy's bone growth, but he swears he was born like that. In the end Nick orders the crew to scan the object and record its information, but they'll throw it out when they reach clear space. Still suspicious of Troy's story, Nick privately asks the others to prepare a rescue return unit just in case while he goes to the moon to gather fuel. Soon the shuttle starts going too fast because of the strong gravity, but Nick uses his piloting skills to keep control and land safely. He takes the elevator into the mines, which also goes too fast because of the gravity but thankfully makes it to the bottom with no issues. In the Nightingale, Troy tries to bond with Evers but brings up Carl again, causing her to storm off. Next he finds Danica and teases her because she's always having dirty thoughts. He can tell she wants a kid and that she's unsure if Yerzy could be the right father, so he flirts with her until she agrees to get naughty with him. Meanwhile Yerzy breaks the object's quarantine to keep touching it, which gives him great pleasure. In the lab, Evers and Sweetie analyze the object and discover extra-dimensional material that human science can't describe. It's a 3-dimensional shell protecting 9th-dimensional matter, meaning it's a bomb that could destroy the whole universe and start a new one. The aliens that created it probably planned for a random species to pick it up and take it to their solar system, which would destroy it and eliminate any competition. Danica overhears Evers explaining this to Benjamin and rushes to check on Yerzy, finding him asleep against the object. She gently guides him away from it and when Evers checks on his health, she discovers that the object made Yerzy a bit younger and much stronger. In the mines Nick is horrified to find the workers' bodies and no fuel. There are also dead men in spacesuits, implying they're Troy's friends. Nick contacts the Nightingale and his call is picked by Troy, who admits he killed everyone to keep the treasure for himself and now wants to kill Nick too. Troy uses the Nightingale system to hack into the mines and take control of the machines, which start destroying the whole structure. Nick moves away from the machines and breaks a glass to leave the mines, running as fast as possible while a vehicle chases him. He manages to get in the elevator just in time, but Troy can still see him on the security cameras and starts mocking him for his past as an addict, confessing he used to be the same. A furious Nick hits the camera to destroy it before running out of the elevator, only to watch his shuttle fly away without him. At that moment Danica enters the room and finds Troy controlling the shuttle. He tries to say he was helping Nick but she doesn't believe him, so he tears off the control stick before tossing it at her. Then Troy forcefully kisses Danica, who hits him with the stick and spits on his face. Troy responds by punching her before throwing her into the airlock, which he opens to expel Danica into space. While Danica dies floating away, Troy's wound heals itself. Meanwhile Yerzy is trying to access the object again but someone changed the lock code. Suddenly Troy shows up and destroys the keypad with supernatural strength. Then he shows his hands, revealing a purple glow that confirms he also touched the object. Yerzy tries running away but Troy throws him across the room, yelling at him about Danica. A terrified Yerzy grabs a tank and starts hitting Troy, who stands there without feeling any pain. Eventually Yerzy hits him hard enough to cause bleeding, but Troy is still fine and quickly knocks him out. Then Troy ejects Yerzy into space too. In the control room, Benjamin finds the damaged panel and asks Sweetie to contact Yerzy or Danica, but she can't find either of them. He immediately runs to find Troy, who is trying to bond with Evers again. Benjamin doesn't hesitate to shoot him with a hook and sends him flying before running away with Evers to get guns from another room. Once he's armed, Benjamin goes looking for Troy and is startled by a noise, but it's just the robot. When he turns around he finds Troy and immediately shoots him in the head, but Troy has mutated and simply throws him into the quarantine room after stealing his gun. A desperate Benjamin asks Sweetie to open the hatch to eject Troy, but Sweetie denies the request because she's unable to hurt humans. Troy shoots the door a couple of times before he starts punching it until he finally breaks it down. Then he throws Benjamin again, instantly killing him. Sweetie informs Evers of Benjamin's death and she tries to contact Nick to no avail. At that moment Troy finds her and finally confesses the truth. He truly is Evers' ex-boyfriend Carl. The object just made him much younger and that's why Evers didn't recognize him. He specifically called the Nightingale to find her, hoping he could impress her with his new power and they could try again. Carl grabs Evers to keep her from leaving but when he's about to use force, Nick announces his presence through the comms. That rescue return unit he prepared earlier worked and now he's coming back. Carl starts arguing with him and while he's distracted, Evers grabs a laser to shoot him in the eye. As Carl's power works on healing the wound, Evers runs to get the docking area ready. She's about to welcome Nick when suddenly Carl pushes her off and shoots a hook at the opening door, dragging a person in. However, it's just an empty suit that acted as bait, and now Nick comes out with 2 mechanical tools to fight Carl. A fight ensues and Carl's strength allows him to quickly overpower Nick, disarming him before throwing him around over and over again. Evers grabs an axe and hits Carl on his back, leaving an opening for Nick to retrieve his tool and cut Carl's arm off. Then he pushes Carl by the neck to lock him up inside a cage. While Evers and Nick run to check on the object, Carl removes the axe from his back and breaks down the cage door to escape. Sweetie senses that the object is becoming unstable and that the drive is finally charged, so they have 10 minutes to jump. Carl finds his fallen arm and easily reattaches it before going to the chamber room, where he starts destroying the pods with the axe. He also tries retrieving the object, only to discover Nick is moving it away. A furious Carl follows him only to find out it's the robot wearing Nick's clothes as a trap. He immediately takes the object back and notices an explosive inside it. Then Evers makes the robot give the finger before detonating the bomb. Carl blows up in a big explosion and half of the Nightingale is damaged now. Sweetie calculates that the object is reacting to the gravity of the blue giant and creating a supernova that will reach Earth in 51 years. This could destroy life on Earth or enable humankind to achieve a new level of existence. There's only 1 pod left, so the duo agrees to get in it together, even though having 2 people in one chamber comes with great risks. As the supernova finishes forming and explodes, the Nightingale finally makes the jump and the duo makes it back to Earth. When they look at each other, they notice they each have an eye of the other person. Sweetie scans them and confirms they're fine. She also announces that Evers is pregnant. However, she can't tell if it's a result of their naughty times earlier or a side effect of their joint jump. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.